Imagine getting a message from me that says, hey, I know you don't know me from a can of paint, but I think I'm your sister. Let's just get into it. Hi guys, I know this is a heavy way to kick off things on my brand new channel, but today's topic is something that has been heavy in my personal life for my entire life, and more specifically for the past year. So I'm coming up on 1 year, May of 2024, of hopping back into my parentage journey of trying to find my biological father. As many of you may already know, I recently did my Ancestry DNA to get some closer answers because I've been having trouble getting answers. So this is gonna be where I really lay it all out there, and like I said, it is a super heavy topic, but I feel like this is an important foundational piece for you to get to know me and, you know, really see behind the scenes. I'm a person where a lot of people may be shocked that this is even a thing. I'm very like goal oriented, go get them. I'm not super bubbly, but I'm just a generally happy, positive person. I'm literally check on your strong friend. I'm the strong friend. Most people just assume I don't need help. I don't need support because I'm very like headstrong, get it done myself. And a lot of that may be my fault. I don't ask for help. I don't ask for support. I'm changing that. I'm working on that, my personal journey. But I think that this topic is the foundation of why that is. And that's why it's like, I just want to get the heaviness out the way and then we can move forward with the good stuff. So with all of that being said, today we are going to get into the nitty gritty, and I do have some special surprises for you guys. Not only are you going to hear from me, 2025 me, 36-year-old me, married with 1 child me, living in Central Florida, you're also going to hear from childhood me. So it is kind of surreal to go back and read how I felt when these things were actually unfolding, and a lot of the stuff in here I have maybe read 1 or 2 lines and I had to stop because I couldn't stomach it. So I'm gonna read some of these inner thoughts that I wrote on paper with you guys. I always was like an avid reader, an avid writer. I really need to get back more into it. As you can see, when I would journal, like, you know how junk journaling is really popular right now? I was doing that back in 98, 99, 2000, like that's who I was, okay? So I would have memories, I would have pictures associated with it, receipts. I just have collected so many things. So at this crossroad in my life where I'm trying to unpack this very heavy topic, it's so interesting to see how the little girl me felt about this at the time. So before we get started, I just want to start with a quote that I saw on Instagram that really resonated with me. I mean, it resonated with me so hard. I can't stop thinking about it. I hate the fact that the person that posted this posted it in such a vulnerable and grief-filled time. I believe that she posted this due to the passing of her father. So I kind of hate to piggyback off of her personal thoughts, but what she said was so profound and important, and it literally wrapped up in a little bow how I feel. So I feel like it's important to start with this quote. So let me grab my phone so I can read it off to you. Okay, so this quote is from author Allie Craigs. I hope I'm saying her name right. And again, this was in relation to the passing of her father, and I'll share the quote on the screen as well. But she said, "Do not live with so much empathy that it's at your own expense, but do not live so callously that you cannot show compassion or forgive. It is a hazy line to toe, and I pray we all find it." I'm getting overcome with emotion because it's such a crazy feeling to be highly sensitive to other people's, you know, inner workings and their threads and the things that make them them, but also want to advocate for yourself and feel your own big feelings, your own anger and disappointment, and really try to blend the two. So I feel that she worded it so perfectly. You have to find a true balance between empathy and advocating for your own feelings. So one thing that I have always tried to focus on in life is not becoming a hard person. I never want to be a hard person. I don't have anyone on this earth that I hate. I'm not walking around angry. My big feelings are big now. I have disappointment, some resentment. There's a lot of things going on, but I don't have a pure disdain for anyone, because at the end of the day, I'm highly empathetic. I can say, you know, this person went through A, B, and C, and they may have been experiencing this. And sometimes I hate that about myself. I just want to be mad at people, like a regular person. I just want to be upset and go about my day. But I have this part of me that is so sensitive to other people's stories. And I think that is what makes me me, and has allowed me to not become a hard person. So I thought it was important to start with that quote. And another thing I want to touch on, a little housekeeping before we get into the story and the results, is although this video and this journey is about me finding my biological father, the real story is girls, women who have complicated relationships with their mothers, because it is just one of the most awfulest things as a young woman. Most people, you don't want to have a fractured relationship with your mother. I am a woman. I am a mother. I just can't imagine having a fractured relationship with my child, because if you know, you know, you just don't want that. Nobody wants that. So there are things that are beyond your control. And if you're a human being, you're going to feel things in response to what people do to you or the decisions that they make. And it makes relationships complicated. So in all this, like I said, I have tons of pictures and mementos and things. And I have this one picture of me and my mom that I was looking at. And if I had to age myself, I would say I probably was maybe like 11 or 12 in this photo. And I looked at this photo and I got so sad, because I look so happy to just be with my mom. Like, I love my mom to death. I'm trying to keep it copacetic and, you know, thug it out through this topic, because this is hard. But seeing how happy I look in that picture and knowing how things are, so I say all that to say I'm sending love to anyone who has a complicated, complex, broken, fractured relationship with their mother. I'm not going to be that girl telling you only get one. You know that. You know that. People telling you that, and you already know. No one purposely wants to bump heads with anybody that they love. So you're already aware of the cliches. I'm sending you love and acknowledging the fact that it is hard, and you are entitled to your disappointment or to any big feelings that you may have associated with things that people that you care about have done. It doesn't make you a bad person to be upset about things. So maybe I'm talking to myself. Maybe I'm giving myself that reassurance. When you are in a complicated relationship with someone and you love them, but also you have critiques on things that have been done, it makes you feel a certain level of guilt. You feel like, you know, I should be grateful that I even had, there's people that, you know, their parents have passed away, or it's a more, you know, a way more complicated situation. There may be something, there are other things that could happen that are, it could be worse. And I hate to say that, but it could be worse, but that doesn't invalidate the fact that you want and wish that you had a better relationship with a person. So I just want to send love to anyone who is dealing with that type of complicated relationship. It is very hard. It is very hard. And that is the part where I am going to need to link up with a professional to to explore how I am going to manage that. Because like I said, I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I don't want that impacting things that I do down the road and creating a cycle of broken relationships. And not just within my family, even with friends. Like, I feel as a woman, I feel that I get along very well with women. I don't think it has impacted me in that way, but it does impact the way that I deal with people once I feel a certain level of disappointment, which is not dealing with them at all. And that's not always the best thing. So that's something that I want to work on personally. That's on my lifelong journey. It never ends. So I wasn't sure what order I want to really do this all in, because it's so much. This is a very layered situation. But I think let's kick it off by reading one of my journal entries, poems. I'm not even sure. I guess this is a poem. So this is dated November 19th, 2002, in which I would have been 14 years old. And it's entitled Ugly Duckling. Mind you, I've only read the first couple sentences, so bear with me. Is it possible to feel like an ugly duckling in your own family? Like if you took the family photo with them, but when you look for reassurance, you have suddenly disappeared. Is it possible to have a piece of the puzzle that was always missing but never really existed? Is it possible to be called by a name since birth, but truthfully be nameless in all aspects of the world? Is it possible that the egg under the shell cannot be harmed if its exterior is shattered to pieces? How is it possible that I stay sane even though my head is a graveyard for painful memories of thoughts? Can I be truly changed with selflessness when all I am greedy for is love? And it is 100% possible that I am the ugly duckling. Like, girl, the despair, it was a lot going on. Like, I get exactly where I was coming from. This is just so deep. Like, she was just so deep. So this is how I honestly and truly felt. So let's bring it back to the beginning, y'all. It's a long road that we have to explore. This is the intention and the goal here is two-pronged. So one, I want to speak to kids, adult children that may be on a parentage journey, whether that be adoption or you just don't know, what have you. There's a lot of things that go on in our culture where you just may not know certain things, because in the Black culture, adult business is adult business, family business is family business. Certain things are not discussed or talked about. We all know how it goes. So I want to speak to those people to give them some reassurance that you are not alone. No matter how crazy your situation is, there are people who have experienced similar. I want people who are on a similar journey to understand that there's other people that can relate. On the flip side, I want my generation as parents to make, you're not always going to make perfect decisions, but to understand that it's okay to be transparent with kids. My son asked me when he was 9 years old, he brought this topic up to me. He asked me, how come you don't have the same last name as my grandmother and my grandfather? And I said, well, do you know what a step parent is? And he said, yeah, of course. I said, well, your grandfather is my step parent. So he said, well, then who's your father? And I said, I don't know. And he got really silent and he gave me a big hug. And I said, why are you hugging me? And he said, I just feel bad for you. And this is 9 years old. So there's a lot of things that adults think, children may not be able to handle, or they're just completely oblivious about. They're not. Children are highly aware. I was a highly, highly, highly aware child. And I think that's where a lot of my confusion comes from, because if you saw me being advanced on every other level, school, reading, I was watching Women of Brewster's Place as a kid, and breaking it down and having an opinion. If you saw me being advanced on all those levels, why would you think that this wool could be pulled over my eyes? That's weird to me. So that's the double-sided sword that I really want to address. The kids who go through it, and then also us as the new adults, us as the new parents. Your children love you regardless, and they're highly intelligent and highly aware. So when situations arise, like Usher said, they will arise. When situations arise, it's going to be hard, but you have to be actionable about speaking to your kids about a lot of different situations. That is one way that I have really focused on raising my son. I don't want to raise him and tell him what to think. I wanted to raise him to tell him how to think, how to really take a situation, break it down, understand why a person may have acted the way they acted, why you may have reacted the way you acted, understanding your feelings, being able to express your feelings. There's more feelings than happy and sad. There's a big plethora of feelings, and really being able to speak to yourself, be introspective, and figure out what is going on, how is this impacting me, what is my opinion about this, and be comfortable to speak that out loud. When we grew up, we were not to have an opinion, okay? It doesn't matter. You don't pay no bills. Do what I told you to do. I don't want our generation to do that. Of course, we want our children to have respect, but I also feel the way that you develop respect is by respecting the children. They're not going to be able to mirror respect if we don't give it to them. They're just going to mirror taking orders. And then when they get older, they're going to feel so relieved that they can finally give the order. So now they're giving the orders, and the new kids have no opinion or have no say so. And it's just a terrible cycle. So that is the intention of sharing this. It is not to expose anyone or talk bad about anyone. I am only saying the story of what happened. I'm only saying the truth. I'm only saying what I experienced. There's no way for me to explain this situation without giving context. And unfortunately, it's not all pretty. Okay. So I'm open to having adult conversation down in the comments if anyone can relate or they have questions related to it. This is not meant to be a nasty or judgmental space by no means. So just keep that in mind, and also keep in mind a lot of the characters in this story, the decisions that they were making, that frontal lobe was not developed at that time at all. And I can appreciate that. Okay? The frontal lobe was not developed. The decisions were not decisioning properly. And so we give grace, but also we ask that everyone takes accountability. So with all of that talking out the way, let's get into the story. When my mother was young, she left from where she grew up at, and she entered a section of the military. When she entered a section of the military, she met my sister's father. They got married and they had my sister. Things did not work out. She came back home. They started the process for a separation. During the time that she was back home and starting the process for a separation, she connected back with someone that she had been dating in high school, and voila, that's where I come from. So at the time, she still had her married name and my sister and now me, and I was raised with my sister's father's last name all my life. I am 36. I had not seen my full birth certificate until I was 35, and let me explain why. When I was young, like I said, super ambitious. I had a job picked out before I even turned 16. I was getting my license on time. I always had the wallet-sized birth certificate. The wallet-sized birth certificate just has your name. It's basic information and your birthday, okay? So I never had my full birth certificate. Last year, my husband and I decided that we were going to elope instead of we were planning to have like a small intimate wedding, but ultimately we decided to elope. And I was triggered about finding my biological father due to a comment that I saw on Facebook, and I'll get back to that in a minute, in May of last year. We were already planning our elopement, which was scheduled for July. So because that comment re-triggered me, it got me back on my Googles and trying to figure things out. And I started watching a lot of vlogs about elopements. And one of the vlogs, the girl had filled out her paperwork incorrectly and they weren't able to accept it. Now, she was getting her marriage license and then she was coming back and having her ceremony. We traveled to San Francisco where our marriage license appointment and our ceremony were all in the same day, all in the same morning. So I said, I have to be on my P's and Q's because I can't have my paperwork getting denied because my information is incorrect. So because I had already been triggered back into figuring out who my biological father was, I said, okay, in order for me to complete the marriage certificate paperwork, I'm going to need my biological father's, or my father's information goes on the paperwork. That's a part of what they asked for. So let me request my birth certificate from the city where I was born just to make sure that everything matches, right? I already know that I have this other man's last name, but I'm like, okay, that was her married name. Maybe it's just a logistical thing of that was her name and that's my name. I get my birth certificate. My sister's father's name is on my birth certificate. So now I'm just like, I'm so irritated because like, what? Like, annoying. I'm sure I've met him sometime in my life, but that's not my father. And the reason why it's so irritating to me and why I always had disdain for having that name growing up, it was never ever explained to me that my sister's father was not my father. I was never sat down and said, this is what's going on, okay? So when I was a young child, and now having a child, I know exactly how kids' brains works. I thought, this is my father, and he doesn't like me. My sister gets birthday gifts. She gets to go visit him because he lived in another state. She gets phone calls. He's actively talking to her like, wow, he does not like me. Like, what is going on? My child brain now, 4 or 5 years old. I just thought he didn't like me. So I'm raised with this person's name, and I don't even speak to them. I'm not acknowledged by them at all. And I'm a child. I don't know the background workings of what's going on. I don't know anything. I don't think that I got a name for who my biological father may have been until I was about 12 years old. Sometime around where all these entries and stuff were happening. So once I saw his name on my birth certificate, now I'm aggravated because now I have to go and get married and write on a document that this is my father, knowing it's not my father, in order for everything to match. So I call the city hall of where we're getting married at, and I explain the situation, and I say I don't have the information for my biological father, and I noticed that on the license application you do have to include that. The gentleman was very nice, and he told me you do not have to write any information that you don't have. You simply write unknown. Cool. I'm happy with that. I'll have unknown on my paperwork. It's crazy, but cool. I'm fine with that. Fast forward to the day that we're getting married. Happiest day of your life. And like I said, we have the appointment for the marriage license before the actual ceremony, where whoever is doing the ceremony, you know, ordains you as married. We have our paperwork filled out. We go to the desk. The man is asking, okay, this is your last name and this is your mother's maiden name. Where's the disconnect? So I'm trying to quickly explain, when I was born, my mother was legally married, so that's where this name comes from. And the man is like pressing the topic. I'm already hypersensitive. Mind you, I got re-triggered in May. This is only July. I am turned up off this topic, okay? I literally was on a rampage, Googling, I'm trying to figure this out before I get married. And unfortunately, I didn't confirm who my father was before I got married. I thought I might be able to, but I wasn't able to fast enough. So in this moment, wedding gown, hair in an updo, fiance by my side, now I'm getting upset and I'm starting to cry because, like, sir, I don't know. Like, I don't know who it is. I wrote unknown. They told me I could write unknown, and that's what I wrote. Like, just accept it. But he was making it seem like, not that I was lying, but he was trying to understand too, and it was giving DMV, not my wedding day. Like, you know, when you go to the DMV and they give you a hard time, like, you're giving me a hard time and I have a ball gown on. Like, sir, let's pack it up. So my fiance is just like, just breathe. Like, he already knows full situation. Just breathe. We make it through that part somehow. That pissed me off because now you done halfway ruined my little wedding morning, and I'm just annoyed. So now let's back it up to the comment that triggered this whole year-long journey. The preface of this whole entire story is that I have 4 fathers. And I know that sounds absolutely insane, but hi, my name is Shay, and I have 4 fathers. So I've already explained, I have the last name of my sister's father, and he's on my birth certificate. As far as the law is concerned, respect to the law, that is who is on my birth certificate. Now, going backwards, he did take steps to prove to the court or whomever that I was not his biological child. Like, I can call the court system right now and they'll tell me we have a blood test request on file from like 1992, but they didn't have the results. So he was doing what he needed to do to protect himself, and I respect that. To show that he's not the father, he shouldn't be responsible for any support, all that good stuff. So that's one. And then we have the person who actually is my father, who at this point I had not confirmed. That's 2. I was raised with the father. I have an amazing father. My stepfather would be number 3. Been in my life since I was 5 years old. The reason why I love cameras and recording and equipment and photography, and amazing person, okay? So I didn't really lack in the father department, but what I explained to him recently was I purposely tried to not get too close to him because me and my kid brain, I didn't want to hurt his feelings whenever I found my biological father. This was my strategic thinking as a 10, 11, 12-year-old. Let me take it easy, because when I have this other dad, I don't want to hurt your feelings because you're such a great person. Isn't that crazy? So I did lose out on a lot of, like, there was no like daddy's girl. It wasn't that, but he was a great father. Now, number 4. I know you're like, where number 4 come from? So after I had my son is 10 now. So shortly after I had my son, and just for context, I don't play all that claiming my son stuff. Like, I used to have coworkers that would call my son their nephew. I don't really get down like that. Now I'm a little bit more lax because he's older, but like when he was a baby, like, that's not your nephew. I was really like strict about stuff like that. So I had received a Facebook message from someone saying, like, you know, hey Shay, how are you doing? You've gotten so grown. I see that you just had a son. That's so exciting. you have a brother that has the same birthday as you. I'm like, my brother's birthday in May and my birthday in August. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I have a brother and his birthday is in May. So I get into this Facebook conversation and the man is basically explaining that he's my father and he hasn't been talking to me in so long and I was removed out of his life. And so at this point, mind you, I'm just like a year or two postpartum. I'm real strict around here. I had already been dealing my whole life with not knowing who my father was. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, let's get a paternity test. Because it didn't feel, something was off. Something was off. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel scammy, but it just like, something's off. Your name sounds familiar, but the things that you're referring to of me being in your life, if I was 1, 2, 3 years old, how would I remember that? And it's like, he wasn't grasping that I wouldn't remember that, and he was taking it personally. He was getting offended. So when I asked for a paternity test from him, he got offended, and he basically was like, oh, I see you're still bitter, and sir, I don't know you. Like, sorry to that man, I don't know you. I just simply do not know you. So now I'm real turned up off this situation. I'm calling my grandmother. I'm like, what's going on? Who is this? And this is somebody that definitely was in my life and definitely took care of me. But again, I was so young that I just simply don't remember. So from him taking it so hard that I was just getting straight to the point, because I could be very short and that's something I have to work on. Especially if it's something that's like hurtful to me, I'll just get real short. Let's get straight to the point. If you're my father, let's get the paternity test and we could go from there. And then I'll be open-minded about it. But he got so offended that the conversation went left and he was calling me bitter and I'm just like, first of all, I'm at work, number one. Leave me alone. And I was just like, all right, let me just leave this alone. This is not good for me. This is not good for my mental. I already have been struggling with this my whole life. And I feel like this man is playing in my face. So we have a super long Facebook message thread. Sometimes I go back and look at it and I just crack up. But he just wasn't forthcoming with enough information to make me feel comfortable about talking to him. And he didn't want to take a paternity test. So I just left it where it was. So going back to last year, I was going through Facebook and I had this picture of where I juxtaposed a picture of myself and a picture of my mom when she was younger. And I said on the picture, like, don't I look like my mom? Because it was one of the first times I could actually see myself in a picture of my mother. I feel like my mother is super beautiful. She has like a unique look. Her younger picture, she definitely could have like been a model and stuff. So that was my first time seeing like, oh, okay, I can see where I look like my mom. So in the comments, my family's commenting, my grandmother's commenting, my mom's commenting. And you know how Facebook shows you your memories. So one of the memories after the primary comments when I first posted the picture, which was maybe 10 years ago, there was a comment that was maybe 2 years after I posted that I had never seen in my life. My first time seeing this comment, and it was the man. And he was saying, you looked just like me when you were a baby. This is immediately after Mother's Day. And actually, I must have posted the picture for Mother's Day. And so that's why it came up around that time. And y'all, when I say that really sent me into a spiral. So basically with this situation, it comes up for me, I would say every 2 to 3 years. Usually when it comes up, sometimes I'm just on my Harriet the Spy type thing where I'm just doing my investigation and doing my research and having my information. And sometimes it's a big emotional battle. Okay, the last time I had a big emotional battle with this was 2019. I was experiencing burnout from work and I was literally in therapy. And this is a big thing I was talking to my therapist about. And I had even brought back up the situation where the man said back in 2017 that he was my father and he didn't want to take a paternity test. So I had been on a good hiatus from this being a big emotional thing. That comment, you looked just like me when you were a baby, when I'm sitting here at this time I'm 35, not knowing who I am and where I come from. That comment right there restarted the clock. Okay, so now we back to doing research, and it also planted this seed of confusion because prior to that time I had to sit down with my mother and I asked, why is this man so dead set on the fact that he is my father? And, you know, that is somebody that she was dealing with, but she said, that is not your father. Like, point blank, period. There's absolutely no way. Like, he's just not. So seeing that comment later on really just planted that seed of confusion once again. And it honestly just made me angry. And I was leading up to the elopement and really trying to understand who I'm going to write on this document, or if I'm going to write unknown. And it just opened up a big can of worms that I mentally and emotionally was not ready for. I'm supposed to be planning the next step of my life and getting married and enjoying. I'm supposed to be, it's summertime. That's my season, okay? Like, it's summertime. I'm getting ready to get married. I'm supposed to be enjoying this season of life, and I have officially unlocked this big can of worms, and it's so aggravating. So now I'm a lot older than I was when he first reached out to me. This is almost 8 years later. And I said, you know what? Let me hear this man out. Let me get in contact with him and see what's going on, because I have great discernment. I'll be able to figure this out and see what's up. So I got back in contact with him. I did initiate the new conversation. He was so happy to hear from me. We switched from Facebook to text messaging. His texting was not up to par. And he kind of was just saying he feels guilt because he's under the impression that I was told that he like basically abandoned me. So he was in me and my sister's life. My sister is only 16 months older than me. So he was in our lives. He was helping take care of us, and then suddenly it just stopped. So based on timeline, right after that is probably when we started establishing a family with my stepfather, okay? So I'm really trying to be sympathetic and hear him out and understand, and like, even if he's not my father, he was clearly in our lives, and I could see where this would be painful. So we have a lot of back and forth, right? And one thing I noticed, he never would answer any questions about, I would ask him directly, like, so were you there when my mom was pregnant? Because I know that she's saying that he's absolutely not the father, and I believe that. But he would always skip those questions. He always wanted to, like, assert he was in my life, and I look just like him, and da-da-da. Always asserting all that stuff, but always skipping over, like, it's only one way for somebody to have a baby, okay? So you had to be there physically before I was born. Were you there at my birth? Like, it sounds like you were there when I was a small baby and you had an emotional attachment, and I understand that and respect it. But at the end of the day, I do not remember that. So I can't really give you the, oh, let's rebuild a relationship, because I don't remember that. You're just not, it's not a relationship that I would need to rebuild unless you can help me prove that you are my biological father. So knowing how it went last time when I asked him for the paternity test, I didn't even ask this time. I just really tried to ask a lot of questions that would confirm for me, you know, whether he was just wilding or not. Honestly, it sounded like he had a deep emotional connection, and unfortunately it was taken away from him, and he has yet to deal with that truly. And again, I empathize with that and I understand it. But it's not my responsibility to ignite a relationship now when I'm damn near 40, because I just simply don't remember you. So we went on talking for, again, his texting was very inconsistent. We went on talking for a few weeks, probably through the elopement time. And again, he wasn't answering any specific question that would be able to pinpoint for me that he actually was my father. But it was giving me just more information, more context around the timing and the situation and things like that. So let's put him on ice. We've covered the forefathers. I know it sounds wild, but that's just the easiest way for me to explain it. I have a father that's on my birth certificate. I have an unknown biological father. I have a father that was in my life at some point and lost that emotional connection. And then I have the father that I was raised by. So now we're in present time. And I have always had a name for who my father was. I have always done research. I've found addresses, phone numbers. When I was 16, I reached out to who I thought was my father, and it turns out that he is a junior. So I actually was speaking with his father. I spoke on the phone with his father, told him, I'm 16, I'm in high school, I'm this person's daughter, and I think that your son is my father. The man was very nice. He was very gentle. He was, asking me, slightly getting to know me in the brief conversation that we had. I told him I'm in school. I play tennis. I have a tennis match this week if you want to come by. I'm very naive at this point. I'm thinking he's going to show up at my tennis match. And he's like, yeah. Very sweet. Only as an adult, he probably was thinking like, oh, hell no, and never spoke to me again. So it's not that I didn't have avenues and ways to contact, but it's like a TV show. I know what I did on my end. Lord knows what was happening on the back end. I don't know if he went back and told his son, like, you better get this together, or you better, I don't know, but I never heard from them again, okay? So now that we're to this point, and I know who my supposed father is, and I'm finding information, I'm trying to reach out, I would send emails to any email address that was associated with him. When I'm telling you, I was on it, okay? I was trying to contact. I made all efforts to reach out, and I'm the kid, okay? So now we come to this entry in my little poetry book, and I'm going to assume that this is around 2002, just like the other entry. And this is apparently a letter that I was writing directly to him to let him know who I was, introduce myself, and try to start some semblance of a relationship. So let's get into this letter. Says, I am writing to, and also my cursive is really bad here and I can barely read what I wrote, so bear with me. I am writing to make you aware of my life. My name is Shay. I am 14, so yeah, 2022. I was born, I share my birthday, and I share the hospital that I was born at. This may come as a large life-altering shock, but I have strong belief that you are my biological father. My mother is, I give her married name. I also give her maiden name. I say, as you may have known her. All my life, I have been led to believe that my older sister and I share the same father. My mother made mistakes in her life that affected her forever, but due to the outcome, I don't think she regrets them. Interesting. Again, this is my first time reading this. It has been very hard for me wondering all this time who my actual father is. From the past 2 years of questions and contemplation, I have concluded that it is you. After all these years, I would think that you would be aware of my being, but I guess I was wrong. So basically, I truly need to find out if you are my father or not. Exclamation point. Like, okay, girl, calm down. If you are, I do not want anything. I have never wanted anything other than acknowledgement, and I'm so glad that I have proof of this. Never. Even when it was back then, when maybe I could have got something, I have never wanted anything. If you are, I do not want anything from you, but acknowledgement. Acknowledgement. It's so crazy. I do not want anything from you but acknowledgement. If not, I will gladly leave you and your life alone. I have not shared this letter with anyone else because I want to keep it to myself. If you plan on writing back, please send to, oh my God. So I gave the address of my god sister who lived across the street from me. I didn't give my address. This is so crazy. Care of Shay. This is not my address, but I will receive the letter. If you would like to call, my personal phone number is, I had my own line at that time. And I remember I had a Hello Kitty. This is so crazy. I had a Hello Kitty phone. I would appreciate it if you would take the time to consider all that I have written and attempt to contact me in some way. And then I have my little, wait, I don't want to show y'all my address and phone number, but I always sign my little name with a little heart. That is nuts. I mean, the feelings have not changed. Hey, what's up? It's me. I just want some acknowledgement. I'm not asking for nothing else. Like, this is crazy. I'm just thinking of my mindset, like the calculated way of saying send the letter here, not there. I can't even remember back in the day where the idea initially came from that this man was the man. It had to be from, I don't know. But at this time, I still was being secretive. I wasn't talking to my mother about it. But I want to go back to the conversation that she and I had, where I said that she said that the man that reached out to me on Facebook absolutely wasn't my father. And that conversation sparked because when I was a kid and I was going through this, eventually I did confide in some of my, high school friends at the time. And one of my friends, he's really big into videography and he had started a podcast. And we were on this podcast talking about, entrepreneurship, being a mother, all the things that I'm usually talking about. And at the end, he asked me, he said, I want to ask you something and I hope it's okay. And I kind of felt where he was going. And he asked me, like, I know in high school you used to always be looking for your father, whatever came with that. And I explained the story on the podcast. So podcast is public domain. Anybody can see it. My mother saw it and she reached out and asked me to go out to eat. At this time, we were normal. We've had our like ups and downs, but we were pretty even keeled at that time. And when we got out to eat, that's what she wanted to discuss. And she kind of was just like, I apologize for not making a safe space for you to ask those questions. And I didn't know that all that time you had been looking and things like that. So I was kind of caught off guard with that meeting because I didn't know at the time that it was in response to the podcast. I didn't know that she had saw it. And I am not the best with expressing my feelings on other people's time. So at that sit down, she opened up the floor for me to ask questions and explain how I felt. And I deflected. I deflected to some things that have happened in the past where maybe like her and my sister weren't talking. And I basically was talking about when you have these like falling out with your kids, you as the parent should take the responsibility of trying to reform the connection. So I don't even know why I took it there. I just wanted to get on a different topic because I wasn't ready to. This situation is so heavy and so painful to me that I just couldn't even verbalize in that moment. Like, WTF, girl? Like, what's going on? Why didn't you tell me all my life? I couldn't get there because I knew it would be like, I just wasn't in an emotional place to have that conversation. So I definitely missed the opportunity to really get into the details with her. But one small takeaway is the story, whenever it had come out that, you know, this certain person is my father, and me had previously asking her, like, so what did you do about it? The story was always that she took me to see him at a restaurant. He saw me. He said, she doesn't look like me. And that was the end of the conversation. So I asked in that moment, that story doesn't really make sense. I don't get it. Like, as a woman, as a mother, as a human being, I don't get it. Someone cannot sit across from me and tell me about me in my, you know, no, that just don't, it makes me glitch out thinking about it. That doesn't sound reasonable, right? So I just reconfirmed in that meeting, like, that's what happened. And she was like, yeah, that's what happened. So, okay, that's the length of the information that I had from her end. And like I said, I didn't take advantage of the opportunity to really discuss it with her. So fast forward to the elopement time. My in-laws were having a anniversary party literally like the week before we eloped. So I was going to be home. I'm living in Central Florida now. I'm from Connecticut. I was going to be home in Connecticut from May, June, July. I had already been in this deep pit of trying to confirm who my biological father is. I've been re-triggered by father number 4. I've been re-triggered. I need to figure this out. And I want to figure it out not only before I get married, but I just have weird timelines. I want to figure this out before my birthday because now I'm 35. I'm turning 36 in 2024. And I just want to close this chapter. So I really, really want to get this figured out. So because this is coming back up and I'm talking back to my grandmother and trying to get information from her, now my mother is back involved. And the question is, what can I do? And I just get so upset because it's like, what do you mean? What can you do? These are your interactions. These are people that you know. Even if I was around people and experiencing them at 2-3 years old, there's no way for me to remember. As an adult, you should be able to take actionable steps without me laying out a game plan. So from there, both my grandmother and my mother went back into trying to get in contact with the man. Along that path, my mom found some contact information for his parents, and she called me and she basically was like, I'm going to go over there and talk to them. And I said, I just don't think that's a good idea. I don't think you should be popping up at their house. So my grandmother ends up taking the baton. Now, at this time, our relationship is back real rocky because she wants to be helpful, but the way that the help is offered to me, I'm in shutdown mode. You now in 2024 doing your Googles and doing your research, you're giving me information that I literally have been collecting my entire life. So you telling me, oh, I saw he works here and he lives here, he does this. I've been knowing that since 2004. You're not telling me any new information. So this is causing me to be real short, and I don't want to behave like that. I'm telling you, I'm not the nicest person, but I am not generally mean. I don't want to shut down and I don't want to be short with you. So I asked, out of preference, when you have updates or information to tell me, instead of saying, hey, I found some information online, give me a call at 5, and now we're sitting on the phone at 5 and you're telling me, oh, he lives in West Bumble. I already knew that. Instead of that, just text me whatever you find. It's easier for me to have that conversation that way. I don't think that that was well received. I think that was taken as, I don't want to talk to you. And that's the narrative that was ran with. But that's not what I was saying. I have already known from the past when we were face to face, I was not able to converse. I already know right now when we're on the phone, I'm not able to converse. Please, let's talk by text. I have a way to be clear-minded with my thoughts. I can map stuff out. I can go back and delete. I can really express myself properly. I've always been able to express myself properly through writing, not so much via speech, because I literally get choked up. I don't think that was taken well, and our relationship just like completely deflated. Popped the balloon. The balloon was popped, okay? And this is all leading up to my elopement. This is exciting times. And also, on the elopement side, I think people felt a way that we eloped and we didn't have a wedding that included everybody. And I understand that, but that's what happened, okay? That's what we did. That's what we decided. That's what worked for us. Especially for, I think people don't understand. I cannot sit up here having a party. I'm literally going through it, and I don't think it was really hitting home for people. I am going through, I'm losing sleep. I'm up in the middle of the night, I have on my iPad, I'm typing out my I have a whole rant that I went on at 2 a.m. in the morning. I'll get to that later in the story. I am going through it, okay? I am upset, I'm crying, I'm not eating, I'm not sleeping, I am depressed, I am going through it. I can't sit up here partying with people, and even if I wasn't going through it, I like intimate. I like doing things on my terms. We eloped, okay? So that is what it is. We're going to leave that alone. So now our relationship is just weird. It's all messed up. We not really speaking. It's very awkward. It's just like hi and bye, Merry Christmas. You know, it's really not much going on, which is sad. So ultimately, my grandmother takes the reins and she becomes the point of contact for the man's mother, because remember my mom had found the parents' information. So the woman is open to speak with my grandmother. Again, these two people, they dated in high school. The parents already know each other. Everyone knows each other. This is not random people, okay? So when my grandmother gets in touch with the woman who is the mother of my supposed biological father, she's like, okay, well, my son is traveling right now. He's out of the country. When he gets back to the country, I will connect with him and try to get an update for you. So because I was planning to go to my in-laws' anniversary party, and that's back home, I let my grandmother know, like, if you could tell her I'm going to be in Connecticut on these dates, I would love to just come by and talk, like, no strings attached. I'm not asking for anything. I just want to meet and, you know, have conversation. So it didn't work out that particular weekend. You know, older people, my grandmother is missing her call, she's missing her call, yada yada yada. So anniversary weekend, we eloped, and then maybe 2 weeks after that, my in-laws came down here to Florida because they had something going on. So we have cousins that live here as well, so it basically was like a lot of the family was going to be here, so we had a little like backyard reception, just a hangout, real casual. The day of that event, I'm supposed to go hang out with family and be in good spirits. My grandmother gets in touch with me, and the woman who is the mother of the supposed biological father gave her an update. The update is he finally came by and they finally sat down and talked, and he said, oh yeah, I know about this. I sat down with my mother years ago. She brought the child with her, and I said, that's not my child. She doesn't look like me. And she didn't respond, literally, physically, in the moment. And I went about my life. So now I'm like, okay, so the restaurant story is a real story. But now I'm even more like, what the helly? What the helliante? Like, what is going on? I'm just not understanding. And I really had to reframe, like, okay, these people were 22, 23. He's actively in college. She's now a mother of 2 trying to navigate. I just cannot imagine this conversation. Like, when I think back to, like, who I was with at that age, like my high school boyfriend or whoever I would have been dealing with, if I was in this situation, I really try to put myself in that booth, in that seat, and like, I don't care if you think that she looks like a Teletubby. Like, this is your child. Like, that's just me. Call me crazy. So he confirmed her story to me. That was always, I felt like it was missing something, but no, he confirmed, yeah, she showed me the child. I didn't feel like she looked like me, and she didn't really have a response after that, so I just went on with my life. And now at this point, because we're in 2024, he's saying, and this was so long ago that if I were the father, she should have took some action back then, and because she didn't, I don't want nothing to do with this. So we finally get to the point where the man has actually been addressed. It's confirmed that he knew of my existence. You knew about me this whole time. I'm almost halfway not even mad at what he's saying, because I know the context and I understand you were young and yada yada. But now I am heartbroken. Literally on the way out the door, I'm on the phone with my grandmother on the way out the door to go hang out with family. So now, per usual, I gotta eat up my feelings, and this just feels very shitty, okay? Excuse my language. The feeling is extremely shitty. It's like we came all this way. We came this far to finally have you sat and seated, and to say, like, this is not my problem, basically. And there's nothing that I can do about that. Prior to this, now, prior to him and his mom having this discussion, she was open to taking a blood test with me. And because he said he didn't want anything to do with it, and I'm assuming this is her only child, she wants to respect the wishes of her family. Even her husband is telling her, stay out of it. She wants to respect the wishes of her family. I am just like, she was open to it. I didn't even need to talk to him. I just needed a blood test from her. I needed a blood test from somebody. I didn't even need to, at this point, forget you. Like, but because he's not open to it, she is no longer open to it. So this honestly was just like devastating. I'm not gonna lie. That sent me on another spiral. So that's when I ended up middle of the night. I wrote this whole narrative in my notes app about the forefathers and just this idea of how other people's decisions, some old ass, vintage ass decisions that people made 3 decades ago, I have to wear them. I'm the only person. Like, for some reason, nobody else is bothered by this but me. I have to wear the weight of these people's decisions that I didn't have anything to do with, and I just feel so innocent. And I'm the one losing sleep and losing hair, and my eye been twitching for 6 weeks. Like, I just couldn't believe it. So I'm just on a rampage, and I'm like, I can give this to Tyler Perry at this point. Somebody can take this and flip it into, put their thing down, flip it and reverse it, and this is a good old movie. Like, I have to get something out of this at this point. I done been too much strife, too much suffering, right? So I honestly haven't even read back what I wrote, because I just know I was pissed. I know I had typos, but I'm sure it's very telling, and it's probably something that I would share with like a therapist or something once I get back into it with therapy. So now that was August of 2024. So since then, I had just been trying to figure out, what am I going to do to close this chapter? I have to close this chapter. I cannot. I spoke to someone that I really respect, and she has a similar situation, and she's an adult, grown woman, 3 kids, grandkids. And she explained that she did not know her biological father, and the person who it may have been ended up passing away before she was able to confirm. And she kind of had this spirit of like, it is what it is. For me, I'm sorry, y'all, I do not operate like that. No, things can be done. We gonna figure this out. Like, I'm always gonna figure it out. I've always figured it out. And I respect that a lot of people give up, but I wasn't in a place to give up yet. So I felt that my last hope was Ancestry DNA. So I purchased my Ancestry DNA kit either October or November of last year. And I was like, a lot of people get this for Christmas, so I'm gonna make sure I submit mine before Christmas so I can beat the rush. Girl, I had that damn test till January. Something about it, I was like, if this gives me nothing, I will feel so defeated, so deflated. I will feel like all of this all of this heaviness has been a waste because I'm still unable to confirm. And then I had to just talk to myself and say, girl, you sitting here looking at this test is not changing things. Like, just take the test. So I ended up taking the Ancestry DNA test, and I had shared it with my online community, and that's why I'm sharing this now. And it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to get the results back. Mine came back pretty quickly, probably more in the 4 weeks. My results came back in the middle of the night, so I saw them in the morning. And now we can get into my results. So if you've ever done Ancestry DNA, you know that it tells you your full breakdown of your possible ethnicities and things like that. So mind you, at this time, there is still some tinge of confusion and skepticism about if the guy from Facebook is actually my father or not. So when I first opened my results, my top place is, I think, 26% Nigerian. After that is, you know, similar things. Mali. I'll post my breakdown if I still have it. So then I go to my DNA matches. In my DNA matches, the first thing I noticed, they have it broken down by immediate family, close family, and like distant family. I noticed in the closer family section, there's several people that have the last name of the supposed biological father. So instantly I'm like, it's you. It is you. It is you. You the pappy. Yo, I have to laugh through the pain. Instantly, I'm like, okay, so it is him. It's not the other guy. Literally, sorry to that man. It is the person that we think it is. Now, on Ancestry DNA, you can either show your full name or you can have like a screen name. So above those closer family members, I do have some in the immediate section, but they don't stand out to me because they're screen names. I click into the very first screen name. Now, Ancestry DNA also tells you your probable relationship based on how much you match in the DNA. There's someone that I have a 26% match with, and it's saying that they're probably my aunts. 26% match is like a sibling, an aunt, a half sibling. If you got I have half siblings. A half sibling and an aunt, what have you. I clicked into the account with the screen name, and I saw the actual name, and the person that I matched, my top match on Ancestry DNA, is this man's mother. Yes, the same one that was previously open to doing the blood test, but then changed her mind because he didn't want her to be involved, or he didn't want involvement, or what have you. She has had an Ancestry DNA account since 2013. None of this is shocking to me because in my research, mind you, I've been researching for 3 decades. In my research, I can tell that she is very hyper aware of her family history, of Black history. I can tell that she's into the arts and reading and just knowing who her family is. She seems to care about her family history. So her having an Ancestry DNA account since 2013 is not shocking at all. The question is, when did you do the DNA test for Ancestry DNA? Now, Ancestry DNA also shows you the last time the person logged in. The last time that she logged in was November of 2024. So now I'm thinking, had you already had this test on file? And if you did, why not say that when my grandmother was first talking to you? Like, hey, just if you want to check, Ancestry.com, check there. Or did you do it after the fact because you knew that I was looking for you? I don't know. At this point, I don't know. I'll never know. It's so crazy to me that she would be my top match. Like, if there was any closer proof would be him being my top match, but this is my grandmother. So the 26%, it says like, this could be your aunt. I know this is my grandmother. I also match with her sister. Her sister also has an account, so she would be my grand aunt. I match with, now that I'm learning more about her, I match with a bunch of her distant cousins from her maiden name. So like, the matches is off the scale at this point. For someone to have an Ancestry DNA journey, this is literally the ideal situation of what you're looking for. A lot of people go in there and they don't know that their parent is not their parent, or, you know, there's something along the line where they were given misinformation. I came on knowing this, and just hoping that I would match with anyone. I was just fine with those distant cousins that had the same last name. That gave me enough of what I needed. The fact that I've matched with your mother, you're trying not to acknowledge me, and I have the same blood as your mother, you're my father. Like, let's cut the crap at this point. So now I'm like, I thought all I wanted was confirmation, but the more I sat with it, that wasn't enough. I need acknowledgement. Like, in order for me to get some good sleep, I need someone to acknowledge me. This is crazy. I am a full-blown grown human being walking around with these people blood, and they're not acknowledged. That is nuts. And you did know about me. Granted, the circumstances, again, I don't want these two adults to be judged like harshly. I don't want them to be judged at all, because the circumstances, I get it. But at the end of the day, I am here. There's nothing you can do. I'm not asking for anything. I don't want to change up anyone's situation, but I am here, and like, acknowledgement would be nice. So that was back in January or February that I got my results, and I've just been kind of sitting with them. And I didn't even share with my mother at the time that I was doing the Ancestry DNA, but I did want to follow up with the man that thought he was my father and just provide, I think it's fair to provide him with that closure, even though I knew he would be so upset because he was just so headstrong that he was my father. So I sent him a message and I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know I took an Ancestry DNA test and I matched with a family that is not your family. And I just wanted to make you aware of that. He basically explained that he's so distraught. He has not cried this much since his mother passed. He can't believe this. But yet and still, to this day, is not confirming that he was with my mother during her pregnancy or before. Mind you, they same deal. They knew each other from high school times. And when she came back home after the fact, that's when they reconnected. So it's not like he was a stranger off the street, but sir, you were not a part of this. you were just not a part. I'm so sorry. Like, and I honestly, truly feel bad for him, because even just like as an aunt or a godmother, I understand how it is to become close to a child and, you know, no longer have that relationship with them. But that's not my burden to bear. I got too much other stuff on these shoulders. I cannot bear your burden for being sad that you're ultimately not my father, especially when you know for a fact that you were not there for my conception or the pregnancy, or even directly after the pregnancy. You just were not around at that time. Yes, you were a father figure. I'm not going to take that away from you, even though I don't remember, but you're just not my father. So I made sure to let him know. Spoke with my grandmother, of course, and she was like, you know, just send the woman a message and that's all you could do. So I did send her a message and I said, hey, I understand that you're respecting the wishes of your family, but now that we've officially matched on Ancestry DNA, I just wanted to provide you with my contact information. Here's my email. Here's my phone number. If anything changes, please feel free to contact me. I go on Ancestry like a maniac and see if she has logged in. She has not logged in since that November 2024 login. So my message is still unread. She has literally not logged in. I don't know when she'll see it. If she sees it, if she'll take any action, I don't know. But I've done my part. I still have open arms. I still am open-minded. So from there, let it sit a few weeks. And I said, you know, I still have a ton of unanswered questions. I do need to have this deeper conversation with my mother. So mind you, I have been researching this man my whole life. He is married. It seems like he's been married a long time. He has 2 adult children that would be younger than me, obviously. Seems like early 20s, late 20s type thing. And at this time, I had turned 36 last summer, so I'm 36 now. So my primary question from my mother was when my candledom went on. I've been talking forever. When we went to that restaurant and we saw that man, how old was I? Because I noticed from some of my newer research that he actually got married in the summer of 1989 and I was born the summer of 1988. So I'm sure you didn't pick a woman off the street to marry. You either had already been in a relationship with her and going towards marriage, or, you know, you were newly married at the time. So if she took me to see him when I was a baby, you were either on your way to get married or you had just gotten married, right? So, hey, let's finally sit down and talk about it. When you took me to the restaurant, how old was I? Guys, she cannot remember exactly, but I was about 6, 7, or 8. 6, 7, or 8. So that means that this man was already full blown, living his life, married, had probably already had his first kid. If you met me in a restaurant and I had all that going on, I would probably say I don't want nothing to do with this either. That's just too much. It's too much. So I don't want to place blame, and I'm not trying to take blame away from anyone. It's really no blame. It's just poor decision making all around. Like, he should have figured out for himself, just as a human being, if this is true or not. And she should have pressed the subject a little further than, here she is. Oh, you don't think she looked like you? Okay, we'll just go home. Poor decision making on both sides. No one is more or less at blame, but I do understand the thought process of, my life is fully in motion. This child is grown. Like, where are you coming from with this? Like, but again, I wasn't, well, no, I literally was there, but you know, I wasn't an adult at that time. So I didn't have say in this situation, and I'm the one that has to suffer due to it. My concern now is that I don't know. I don't know if the lack of interest is because you have a whole life and you don't want to interrupt your life. And I kind of understand that, but then I just kind of don't, because it's not like I'm older than your kids. I'm older than your marriage. Like, you know, I'm not like I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I don't think there's any reason at this point to continue to not acknowledge. I can't get anything from you. It's not like I can get child support. I am grown. I'm going to be 40 in 3 years, 40 years old. I am grown. I have a child of my own. I don't even live in that state. There's nothing that I could really get from you other than me trying to get some acknowledgement, know who I am, where I come from. I have so many traits that are aligned with that side of who I am or who I could be. And I'll never really get to explore those relationships because they're not interested in being involved. And I get that. It's a topic, but there's so many people who go through these situations, have similar situations, meet their children and their siblings later in life. We don't have to be lovey-dovey and hugging and, hey girl, I'm your new sister. We don't even have to do all that. But the sheer lack of acknowledgement and making an intentional decision not to acknowledge me, to me, that is crazy. And then on the other side, what I spoke to my mom about, I said, I understand as a young woman being in a position where you're not making the best decision. You think maybe you're making the best decision, but it's not a good decision and all that. But I cannot relate as a parent. As a parent, I cannot relate. I would never do that to my child. I would never withhold that type of information. And based on our conversation, I felt in our conversation it was very open, and there was a lot of accountability taken. She said that it was poor decision making. She said that it was extremely selfish. She said that she thought she was just sweeping it under the rug and giving us a stable life, which I appreciate. I didn't grow up with major issues, you know, and I hate that thought process, because it's like, oh, well, I wasn't beat up or abused or in poverty, and so it's not that bad. But it's still a thing. It's still hurtful. So the good things don't necessarily outweigh the bad. But it's I give respect for the way I feel like I turned out decent. I'm a good functioning adult. You know, I've always held a job. I've started businesses. I have good relationships with the people around me. So I wasn't fully jacked up, but deep down inside, the things that I have buried is I have a constant nagging feeling of something. Like, I don't know if it would be called abandonment, rejection. I don't know what it would be called, but I have it, and I have to carry it every single day. So I just feel like I wouldn't do that to my child. Like, I just wouldn't. That's not a decision that I would make. Even if the other party wasn't interested. First of all, there's way you can prove that someone is a parent without them being interested. We're not even gonna get into that part, but even if the other party wasn't interested and that was something that I wanted to protect my child from, at a certain point, it's not my job to say, hey, excuse me, who's my father? It's your job to sit me down and explain the situation. And even if you didn't feel like I was mature as a child, it never was brought up as a teenager, a young adult. It was always me talking about it and then getting a response. Like, there was no initiation from that side, and I think that was wrong. There's certain one time that sticks out to me, and I don't even know if it will be remembered on the other side, but there was a time, my sister and I are very close in age, but we also have kids that are very close in age. My niece is only 3 months older than my son, so my sister and I were pregnant at the same time. When my sister was pregnant, her and my mother were not on the best of terms, and I remember my mother talking to me and saying, like, you know, I can't believe that she's not talking to me, and with her being pregnant, I didn't know she was pregnant, and, you know, she needs to reach out to me to get information on her father. It's very important when you get pregnant to know your family history. Y'all, if I'm lying, I'm flying. This is a real conversation. Mind you, my sister knows who her father is. He doesn't live in the same state as her, but she had somewhat of a relationship with him growing up. Her as an adult, whatever their relationship is right now, that's on her. She can pick, if she wanted to, she could pick up a phone and say, hi, father, I need to know your medical history because I'm having a baby. I can't do that. So it's like you're having this conversation with me, and this is cementing to me that you don't even, it's almost like it doesn't even exist to you that this is a problem on my end, because you're saying, oh, she needs to know her family history. What? She could access her family history. She has access to those people. She knows who they are. So that's something that will always stick out to me as, like, I don't know if you brush this under the rug so deeply that you're also not even realizing that it's a thing. And I think a lot of it has to do with me being a strong-willed, independent type of child, type of person, that people don't even realize that I'm struggling with something and that you are the cause of me struggling with it. And then you're talking, child, I don't want to get too upset, but that stood out. That stood out for sure. So again, the most recent conversation that we had, there was a lot of accountability and just, you know, that was absolutely selfish. But I'm at this point where I don't even know if forgiveness is the word. Like, I want us as a people to really delve into this idea of forgiveness. Forgiveness, like, they say that you're forgiving for yourself and not the other person, but I just don't feel like that's the correct word. I don't forgive what you did. It's already done. It literally cannot be undone. There's not many things that you could do to relieve the damage that it caused. What is it that I'm forgiving? That was a poor decision, and you're acknowledging that it was a poor decision, and all we can do is move forward. It doesn't need to be forgiven. Like, forgiveness wipes things out, and that I just don't feel like that's the word. There's no hatred. Like I said in the beginning, I do not wish a complicated mother-daughter relationship on anyone. I don't wish that was the case. For me, it's not even that I don't want to talk to you. It's just, it's awkward when we do talk. There's a lack of trust. It's just something is broken now. And I feel like people understand that when it comes to, like, intimate relationships, like, oh, my partner cheated on me multiple times, so I'm not going to be with them anymore. People say, okay, I get that. Oh, this person in my family did things to me multiple times or made me feel away multiple times, so it's hard for me to talk to them. Oh, well, you only get one of those. Like, I know I only get one, but they not acting right. Like, what do you want me to do? So I don't want to hold something over someone's head for the rest of their lives, especially if they have apologized, but there's literally nothing I could do to take back what has already been done. You made an initial poor decision and then carried it out long term, and I have to deal with the consequences of that. So that is something that I am working on. I will be talking to the lady. I believe in therapy. I believe in prayer. I believe in writing your thoughts down. I believe in all of that. So I'll be using all my resources to try to get some true closure and try to redevelop a positive relationship. Because right now, like I said, there's no disdain, there's no hatred, but it's just like, it's a big missed opportunity is the best way for me to put it. There's a big missed opportunity because the relationship will not be bestie. It won't be that for at least some time to come. So, that was a lot. It's even more layers than everything that I shared, but I feel like I gave enough context for it to be fully understood and for it to make sense. Again, my intention is not to expose or shame anyone. I don't want to be the reason that someone's whole life is turned upside down, but I'm also not a fan of being ignored. So I'm not going to force myself on this family. Of course not. I'm not going to force myself on them. I am 100% open to connecting with anyone from my biological paternal side. I'm open to that, but it does not feel good to not be acknowledged. I'm not going to lie about that. I don't care if it is, you know, I shouldn't say I don't care, but I understand that there's caution when you have an existing family, but that doesn't make me any less alive. And I would hate for, the life is moving fast, you know, anything can happen. Life is very short. I would hate to leave this place or for someone from that family to leave this place and to never make that connection. I would hate for that to be the outcome. So hopefully some stars align for us to be able to connect. Hopefully some stars align for us to be able to connect one day, someday. Until then, I have a lot to unpack personally. I have a whole inner child that is permanently disappointed, and it impacts the way that I am as an adult. It impacts the way that I express myself and the way that I build relationships with other people. It impacts the way that I take on loads by myself and take on burdens by myself, because I just feel like, you know, I'm better off trying to figure things out myself, because that's what I've always had to do, which is not, that's not healthy. That's not the case. So actionable steps going forward. One of my primary things, and I've been trying to figure this out with the probate side, I would like to get my sister's father removed from my birth certificate. I do not want to leave this earth and a man who is not my father is on my birth certificate. I don't want my obituary to have a name that I do not. Let me tell y'all, when I went to college, I went to Temple University. That was my first pick. I was so happy to be there. I didn't finish there, but shout out to Temple. I told people my name was Shay X, and they believed me. I was not repping that name, okay? Because I don't have nothing to do with those people. Of course, I love my sister dearly, but that's her father's name. That has nothing to do with me. So that is a primary goal for me. I want to have my birth certificate amended in some type of way. And then also I do want to get back into consistent therapy at least once a week or a couple times a month, because like I said, I feel like I still have a lot to unpack. I am finally at the point where I feel like I told this story fairly even killed. I didn't get upset too many times. There's certain parts of it that still upset me, but I'm finally able to speak about it freely and not feel such a big burden and not always be in tears when I'm talking about it. So I want to go to therapy to get some coping mechanisms for closure when the closure that you're looking for is not actually available. So the closure I'm looking for is acknowledgement and not being a daddy's girl, but if someone's my father, I should be able to say, hey, you know, happy April, happy Easter, how y'all doing? Make sure everything good. I should be able to have simple conversations at least. It don't have to be the best relationship, but because I don't have access to that level of closure right now, I need to know what are some coping mechanisms for when you do not get the closure that you're looking for. I finally have the answers, but I don't have the acknowledgement. So I have to take it to the professional level of figuring out what can I do to move forward to not feel sad about this. I permanently have a piece of me that is sad, it's empty, and it's void. And I don't want that to project in any other part of my life. I don't believe in being like fake and overly bubbly, but I do feel like I'm generally happy and positive, and I just want to build on that. I don't want to have something that every few months I remember it and I get sad again. I don't want that. So update my birth certificate somehow, some way. I may have to do like a probate court case, like I said, and start therapy again. So yeah, those are my goals. My Ancestry DNA is open. I updated my profile picture, my name. I updated my bio to specifically say I'm looking to connect with my paternal side. Whatever happens, happens. And I'm sorry to anyone that it hurts in a way. I have been hurt as well. It's going to be painful. It may be a painful unfolding as it unfolds, and it may impact some existing relationships, but I'm only telling the truth. I am related to you. It is what it is. Hopefully we can move forward. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I appreciate you guys for listening in. Like I said, this was a very heavy way to kick off the channel, but it's a big part of me that most people don't know. And I feel like it just gives some more insight into just like a deeper layer of who I am and why I'm so hypersensitive and I am super empathetic and I have such an open mind. Like, I just feel like it paints just a deeper picture, and it's important to know, you know, who you're hanging out with. So thank you so much for sticking around. Let's have some conversation in the comments. Let's have some grown-up conversation in the comments. If you've dealt with something similar or you just generally have questions, let's keep it real respectful. We're real grown, you know. I appreciate anyone who has sent me love and support. My online community means so much. It's not a game. Like, I've had the pleasure of, that's why I love this digital age. I've had the pleasure of meeting so many of my online friends, and I hope to meet everyone in the future. But the purpose of this new channel is to just give a more personal side. My other platform is very like, here's resources for everyone else. This is more of me, okay? So this is not a family channel or a couples channel or like a super, you know, we're not gonna be too deep in my business, but I want to be, I like being transparent. I like being able to speak freely without feeling silenced. I like that, and that's what this channel is for. So in the next video, I'm actually going to take y'all home with me. My nephew recently got married, and I usually don't show a bunch of family stuff, but it really gave me some of the peace that I needed as I'm going through this journey, and home just gives you that reset button sometimes. So stick around for the next vlog. We're going back to Connecticut. Shout out to the Lady Huskies. UConn just won the NCAA championship. Yeah. So yeah, next vlog, we're going home. You'll get to see some of my favorite people and some good times. So I hope to see you in the next one.